Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be using a Ninja Crispi to make some really awesome air fried shrimp skewers. And the best part is that they're easy. No Ninja Crispi, no problem. This recipe should work just fine in just about any air fryer. So you ready? Let's get into this. Alright, the ingredient list for this recipe is really short. First, we need 1 bundle of green onions, some 21 to 25 per pound raw shrimp, and if you can't find that writing on the package, these are typically the extra large ones. A little bit of avocado oil, my herb combination, this has got salt, pepper, paprika, cayenne pepper, a little bit of onion powder, and granulated garlic in it. And finally, we need some wooden skewers. You are going to want to soak these in some warm water for about 2 hours or so. This is a trick that you normally use outside because if you have these soaked skewers like this, it's a lot more difficult for them to burn. This isn't as big a problem when you're using an air fryer, but it is kind of nice to do it because you'll keep these looking as good as you can. If you'd like to make this recipe, all the ingredients and measurements are down in the description of the video, along with the calorie count, the protein, the carbs, and the fat. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is prepare our onions. So we want to cut these into sections that are about 1.5 inches wide. I like to use the bottom portions of the onions because I want them to be nice and thick like this. I don't want them to be hollowed out like they are at the end of your onions like this. Some people don't like using the white parts because they tend to be a little bit more bitter. That doesn't bother me at all, but if you don't like that part, you can always just chop that off and start up higher. We're probably not going to use all of this onion, but there's a lot of different uses that you can have for that. Don't throw it away. Just go ahead and use it to cook something else later. Okay. So we'll just do all that. If you go a little bit long or short on some of these, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to show up at your house with a ruler.
Are you serious?
Okay, now we can move these out of the way for a second. And we can deal with our shrimp. You want to start with raw shrimp, not pre-cooked stuff. And you can get them either shelled or unshelled. You can see that these still have all that on there, but they've been deveined. This is typically the way you're going to get them out of the store. And I'll show you how to get most of the shell off of this. I'm going to be leaving the tails on, but you can take those off as well. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is just take your shrimp. You're going to want to grab it around the tail section. You'll see that there's one last little section here, one last little line. You're going to want to pull just the shell down just over that part right there on both sides. Then you can turn this over, kind of grab it right there, break it off right at the end, and you should just be able to pull this right off, just like that. Now you got a nice clean shrimp with a tail on. If you want these tails off, you can usually just hold the shrimp right here, grab the end of the tail, and you can pull this straight off pretty easily, and for the most part you'll get this to come off and leave all the meat there. I think they look nicer when you fry them with these on, so I'm going to leave them. And then now all we got to do is continue this with all the rest of these shrimp. Remember, take your time, it's not a race. Alright, we're almost done, and this really brings me back because the first job I ever had was dishwashing in a Japanese restaurant, and one of my jobs to do when I wasn't washing dishes was to do this all day long. What a difference a few decades makes. Okay, now we can move on to the next step. We can start skewering these bad boys up. We're going to take our skewers, do these one at a time, and all we're going to do is alternate between onions and shrimp. I'm going to be putting 4 of each on each of these skewers. That means I got to start with the onions. And really, we're just skewering this down. Don't just push it through. Twist this a little bit to get it on there. That way you don't risk this falling apart on you. Okay, and then we can slide the shrimp through. I like to have my tails down, and you're going to want to slide the skewer through it twice. Once through the bottom section, and then once through the top section when it swoops back over here like this. See? So it looks a little like that. Disregard the fact that I'm missing a tail right there. That's inconsequential. So on these, you only got about 1 inch left at the bottom here. That's fine. Now we'll do the rest. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. Okay, and as I finish this up, you're probably thinking, Joe, you idiot, you're cross-contaminating your onions here. And my answer to that is, you are absolutely correct.
What?
Because I'm not doing this recipe large enough to use up all these onions. If you're doing it yourself and you're not making enough of these skewers in order to use all those up, then I would recommend that you count the number of pieces that you need here, leave them in the bowl, and put the rest in your fridge, safe and sound. Otherwise, you're not really going to be able to use these. I mean, you can, but there's a higher risk of having some kind of issue with that. But if you did notice that, then kudos to you because you are absolutely correct. Now that we got our skewers ready to go, we're gonna oil these up and throw on our seasoning. Some people might say, why are you putting oil on those? Because you're gonna be using an air fryer, aren't you? There's no reason for that. And the truth is that air fryers still need oil. In fact, when you get those frozen French fries and stuff out of the store, or chicken fingers or whatever that are made for you to throw into the air fryer, those are already partially cooked and they've got oil in them already. If you're cooking fresh, you absolutely need to give your air fryer something to crisp up. And it's gonna have a hard time doing that if you don't use any oil. Remember, anything that you do to these, you gotta do to both sides. I'm using a pretty generous amount. The reason I'm using avocado oil is because avocado oil has a very, very high smoke point. It's about 470 degrees or something like that. That means less smoke. A lot of times when people use air fryers and they're using like an olive oil or something like that, they end up smoking out their kitchen, and that's usually the reason for it, is using low smoke point oils. Okay, next we'll be ready for the seasoning. I tend to put quite a bit of this on there. The amount you put on there is going to just depend on you. I like a lot of flavor though, so I'm going to season them up. Just make sure that when you take your herb combination, you mix it really well like this. That way you get some even disbursement on this. And you can just take it and pinch it and just put it on just like that. This is actually kind of fun doing this part. And you can see I'm putting tons of it on here. I like them Emerald Lagasse style. In fact, on these, when you're turning them over, you can see that there's going to be a section here that doesn't have anything on it. Give that a little bit of a seasoning as you're doing your flip. And then we do the other side. Okay, now we're going to take our Ninja Crispi air fryer and we're going to lay these guys out. So I'm right in a row. You're going to want to get these as close as you can together, but try not to overlap them too much if you don't have to. That's looking pretty darn good. If you're having trouble with that, you can always cut your skewers down a tiny bit more to give yourself a little bit more room. Now all we have to do is throw on our crispy. I'm going to set this to max crisp, and I'm just going to leave it at 10 minutes because we're going to be just stopping that manually whenever it's done. And then we can start up. Okay, once it's been about 4 minutes, we're gonna pop this cover off and we're gonna flip these over and do the other side. You can tell how cooked your shrimp is because it's sort of translucent whenever it's raw, but whenever you can't see through it anymore, it is cooked. So now we'll just flip all these guys over and do the other sides, just to get them crisped up. Okay, we'll put that back on and we will continue.
2,000 years later.
Okay, after about another 2.5 minutes, I'm gonna pull this off of here and we should be done. Remember, we don't want to put it for a full 4 minutes on both sides because we cooked it most of the way through on the other side. If I were to go the full 4 minutes again, then I'm gonna have overcooked shrimp and that's gonna be gross. But now, these are ready to eat. And that stick is hot as shit. But honestly, that looks pretty damn good, doesn't it? That shrimp came out crunchy and delicious, and it really didn't take any kind of effort to make it at all. I think that if you try making it this way, that you'll never make it any other way ever again. If you'd like a little bit more information about the Ninja Crispi that I use, I do have an Amazon affiliate link for it down in the description of the video. If you buy anything through those links, I do make a small commission, but it doesn't change the price that you pay 1 cent. Hey, Joe's Phenomenal now has channel memberships. For most people, you can see a join button down below the video window that you can click and see what type of perks I'm offering. If you're using an iOS device, you might not be able to see it, and if that's the case, I do have a link down in the description of the video as well. If you like this video and you think that Ninja Crispi is pretty interesting, I did a product review for it right here. If you watch that video, you should see all the pros and cons of the machine, plus you'll get to see some demos of it cooking all sorts of different types of food. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you back again here really soon, and until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.